Jamaican Vigilante Killer. Part 1. The Prison Release. It was on a damp, cool, and crisp, yet sunny December afternoon in 2010, just 5 days before Christmas, that Jack William Collinwood walked from the prison office toward the main gate of the General Penitentiary Prison in Kingston, Jamaica. Every day, it is the warm Jamaican sunshine that powers the island's mighty engine to life. Therefore, the fresh, warm sunshine made him felt like a mountain ram goat kid frolicking on the high, rouged, and dangerous rocks of a mountain without the concern of a fall or hurt. And, yes, the cool December breeze felt sharp against his skin. He had requested of the prison authority to allow him that one last wish. Instead of going to the pickup area on the eastern side of the prison where families would gather to pick up newly released inmates, because he was taking a bus home, no one was coming to take him home, he would walk through the main gate, and his request was granted. Indeed, he needed to clear his mind and see the hustle and the bustle of downtown Kingston again. Jack stood at an imposing 6 feet 3 inches, with broad shoulders, strong muscles, and steady hands. Because of his imposing height, he walked with grace, dignity, pride, and with a sense of honor, relief, and confidence. Jack walked through the prison gate of the Tower Street Adult Correctional Center, which is also known as the General Penitentiary Prison, which is a maximum security prison located on Tower Street in Raytown, in downtown Kingston, Jamaica, West Indies. As he exited the main prison gate, he could only hear bang, clang, click, as the gate closed tightly behind him. The security corporal gatekeeper spoke into the wall phone and said,
"Yes, sir, Captain. Collinwood is out, sir."
"Thank you, Corporal," the voice on the other end of the phone inserted. The sun rose higher in the sky with no rain in the sky. Therefore, it was just a typical and tropical afternoon on the rock. Incidentally, 1 year earlier, before his release, the parole board had reviewed Jack's time in prison and awarded him parole on the merits of outstanding inmate for good behavior and outstanding conduct. But Jack refused the early release, indicating that he will do his full sentence as prescribed by his court sentence. And so today, the 20th of December, 2010, was 15 years to the date of his imprisonment. And so, yes, it was cool but tolerable. A good thing that he had a sweater around his shoulders, just in case it was needed. Jack started his prison term as a boy of 15 years old, but today, it was 15 years later, and he was now 30 years old. While up north, the winter weather in New York City was cold and snowy, especially upstate, bringing heavy snow, ice, and strong winds, though some days can be surprisingly mild, creating a classic winter scene with potential for both blizzard conditions and festive Christmas white snowy beauty. And the cold weather from up north drifted into the space of tropical Jamaica, causing a cooler than usual normal temperature as well. And so today, the 20th of December, 2010, was 15 years to the date of his incarceration. Jack firmly placed his feet on the newly asphalted road leading into the town toward the bus park, where the bus to the county village of Devon Penn was parked. Jack walked away from the prison gate and watched the pigeons flying lazily from roof to roof in the warm midday sunshine. This will be a day he will never forget. He had been in prison for 15 years for a crime he did not commit. And as he walked further, 2 dogs were barking at him, as if to say, "Hello, prison bird." He saw the taxis, buses, and other cars and delivery trucks moving along on the busy roads and intersections. And so, the city of Kingston was stretched out before him, with its hustle and bustle and people moving on roads, streets, and lanes. Jack walked through the busy and bustling crowd like a savvy and slick Kingstonian. Over the many years, Kingston had continued its bustling daily rhythm with its usual business of selling and buying of all kinds of commodities. And not far from there lies the biggest outdoor food market in Kingston, Jamaica, the Coronation Market. Jack had passed his psychological evaluation 7 days before his exit from prison. Therefore, there was no reason for him to doubt his ability to perform at the highest level in all areas of his life. Jack's life from prison to freedom will now show steadfastness and determination toward purpose, even if it is filled with revengeful intentions. Because an eye for an eye was still riveted in his heart, the killing untouchables will have to be touched to show that there is still justice, even if it's jungle justice for those whose lives were taken away by senseless killers and drug sellers. After years of planning and fine-tuning, Jack could not afford a diabolical failure on any part of his plan. With deep-seated planning after his prison release, Jack remembered that revenge never forgets, and he never forgot how they killed his father. Then he mused to himself, they will pay, and pay dearly, sooner or later. That after 15 years in the slammer, he was now a free man, physically free from the restrictions of incarceration, but not free from mental, emotional, and psychological incarcerations. Jack bought a bag juice from a street vendor, made from water, ice, and strawberry syrup flavor. Jack took the ice-cold drink like an archaeologist clutching ancient artifacts that could reveal something important and valuable, but he hoped that it would not affect his delicate stomach. But he was ready to walk the 1-mile journey to the bus park to find the right bus that would take him to Devon Pen in northern St. Mary. On the roadway of the Junction Highway, leading to the villages of Devon Pen and Broadgate, and unto its final destination in Port Antonio. As Jack walked further, he vividly remembered his time at the South Camp Juvenile Center in Kingston, Jamaica. Those few years at that remand center were easier compared to his time at the adult prison, where he had to face the consequences of his allotted time in prison at hard labor. But today, he was heading home to his Garden of Eden in the foothills of the Blue Mountains, with cool springs, green grass, birds chirping, productive farm fields, and pristine landscape hidden in its beauty from passerbys. Jack also reflected on the many years he spent in prison at hard labor. Many programs also aim toward rehabilitation by teaching inmates skills in trades like carpentry, painting, masonry, and auto mechanics. But all those work details are supervised by prison guards and staff to avoid runaways and ensure safety for the inmates as well. And like they say, you do the crime, you must do the time. Now, indeed, prison life affected people in different ways. Some inmates become talkative, very talkative, reliving the experiences of a lifetime, while others became depressed, reserved, and even self-isolated. But Jack was not in those categories. He was in his own world, thinking about how he would approach his task, after realizing that an objective without a good plan holds no sound judgment. But as his days drew nearer to being released, he was counting the days like a farmer counting seeds when planting, before covering the seed with his foot. He finished the cold and satisfying bag juice. He had not seen or eaten bag juice for many years, so he sucked it happily and gayfully like a child sucking his or her mother's breast milk. It was finished, and now he was craving another, but he remembered that the sugar content was very high in those sweet-tooth fructose appetizers. As he walked in deep in thoughts, he remembered well how 3 evenings before his release, a tall, soldierly-looking, no-nonsense prison guard, while doing his routine checks and passing by his cell iron gate, rambled his baton against his cell and exclaimed,
Mr. Collinwood, you will be out of here in a few days. When you are out, stay out of trouble. I will not be here for a few days, so might not see you again. So good luck and stay out of trouble, son. Indeed, sir. That is a charming fantasy.
Jack knew that his mind was made up and settled about this righteous fight against the drug kingpins in the society. However, that intricate thought by the security officer was comforting to him, but he knew that he would not and could not stay out of trouble after he is released from prison. For him, trouble was just budding, just beginning for him in this righteous fight against the drug kingpins in the society. Then 2 days before his release, he went into the General Affairs office to finish his job paper task, then organizing his personal property. He said goodbyes to friends and foes alike and prepared for his final processing out the following day, which involved signing papers, collecting funds and belongings, and doing a final physical search. And of course, there were a lot of high fives, backslaps, hugs, and handshakes to go around. For Jack, this last leg of the prison term brought a mixed feeling of excitement, fear, and anxiety about reintegrating back into society. The following morning, he would also secure his release documents, his recommendations, and achievement certificates, along with his medical records. For Jack, the morning of the 20th of December 2010 started in his cell with the overtone of the last day for freedom was at his prison cell door. He woke up, prayed, and read portions of Psalms, Proverbs, and Revelation. He was ready for the world, ready for life in the real world. His heart was racing with anticipation for what lay ahead. Jack joined the breakfast queue and sat at a table with a few prison buddies. They talked about their time together in prison for those many years and what it meant to be free from the mental shackles of prison life.
Being in prison is like slavery, and I have 2 whole years left in a Babylon. Shackles ayaya, no rights, no liberty star. It rough thing there, but me a go and hold it star, jade, yeah.
The energy at the table was electric and profitable for each of them. They finished their meals and said their goodbyes. Jack headed for his cell to relax for a while before the guard would come and escort him to the office complex for his final out-processing. Jack realized that some wounds don't heal with words, but with time. And Mr. Biggs was a ruptured artery that refused to close. For many years, police officials tried to stop his historic drugs from coming into the country. Yet, it seems that he was always 2 steps ahead. His drug and money laundering network had hands and fingers in almost everyone's pocket and who always owed him favors. He seems untouchable. The mathematics of this drug lord removal was being calculated in real time. Jack was also aware that freedom cannot defend itself. There must be defenders to implement the metrics of freedom, and there must be physical defenders of liberty, freedom, and justice. Jack's operational thinking was leak-proof and solid as a rock. Mr. Biggs' enterprise was indeed a state within a state. As a matter of fact, it was a state within a country. Jack's cost-benefits analysis was essential to his progression toward his end goal of the elimination of the mastermind of the drug epidemic in Jamaica. All release activities were highly structured around administrative tasks like paperwork, personal property, and earned money from working at various places in the prison. There may be a warning of intent to the druggists, so that if anyone trafficked drugs in any way, shape, or form in Jamaica, they will be targeted by Jack the Ripper. Because his operational planning was almost completed, with nothing written on paper, it was all indelible printed in his mind. And the most important thing about Jack's objective will be his reason for his determined posture and revenge. At the last meeting with his contact, his pipeline to Mr. Biggs' organization, his friend in prison on the H-block on the north wing of the building inquired of Jack.
Jack, man, friend.
Jack, how you know anger won't cloud your judgment?
Jago, you know me and I know me, and if my mind get clouded, I have every right. Can't clean up Jamaica all at once, but me a do parish by parish. Me a start a town, might just add Spanish town to mix it up a bit. Suicide mission, but me know you make up your mind.
No one could talk Jack out of his mission. But the most important thing about Jack's object and mission will be his reason for his determined posture and revenge. Jack knew his plans were soon to be in place, and his power and rage would be felt in due time, but he did not need to rush. Yet, for you to understand Jack's determination and resolve, you must understand more about his youthful days before he went to juvenile detention in prison, and what caused his actions and reactions. Now, Jack William Collinwood was born in the parish of St. Mary, in the foothills of the Blue Mountain in Jamaica. He had several brothers and a few sisters. As a boy, he attended the local primary school in his village, and his nickname was JC. His father was a farmer and his mother a seamstress or a dressmaker. The fertile soil in this farm-loving village produced an abundance of food that were sold to higglers or market food-selling persons, both men and women, who buy and sold those products in markets far and near. His father also had many local helpers on the farm with him. His father graduated from college with an engineering degree, but farming was the love of his life. Jack's mother was an accountant, but she loved to make things with her hands. So she gave up accounting at a bank in Kingston and started designing and making dresses, gowns, curtains, and all wedding apparels, and she had a good clientele. By the time Jack had become a teenager, in his early days at high school, His high school teachers noticed his analytical and intellectual disposition, and they were sure that he was on his way to becoming a doctor or a lawyer. Jack saw absolute knowledge as an art to be mastered with practiced science. Moreover, he was a young perfectionist and a purposeful youth. Indeed, he was methodical and patient. When other children or young adults were interested in playing sports, he would be reading his favorite Hardy Boys mystery novels, getting insights on how to solve difficult social and legal problems. If you should hear him speaking to himself under a shady mango tree at his parents' home, you would think he was mad or losing his sanity. But the boy was getting his mind ready for college and advancement in the Jamaican society. It was only 2 weeks before his Caribbean Examination Council, CXC, and he was in the secret study room that his father had built as a study zone for his children. And there he was, studying diligently for his upcoming examination. Jack was alone with his father, who had stayed home to answer any study problem that his young son of 15 may have had. And there they came. Even though the dogs were barking, the two men entering the yard unafraid, as the dogs that were tied up beside their dog kennels realized that there were strangers in the yard. So the dogs were barking and making dog fuss over the two new visitors. They came with guns in hand, and seeing his father, they looked at a picture that one had in his hand, and then they both opened fire, hitting him several places all over his body. Jack, looking through the darkened window in the study room, watched the whole incident unfold and tried hard not to scream. And in their mad rush to escape, one of the gunmen slipped over a tree root and his gun fell. Jack went out, picked it up, and tried to shoot at them, but the gun was empty. So now his fingerprints were on the gun. The gunmen came for his uncle, but apparently they did not know that the brothers were identical twin, and so they killed the wrong man. The father's twin brother was Jerry, who was a high-ranking member of the Biggs organizational drug syndicate, but had stolen several million US dollars from the Biggs enterprise, and a reward was now out on his life. Formerly, Uncle Jerry was a bank manager at one of the biggest banks in Kingston, but after seeing the millions of dollars being deposited into Biggs' account, he wanted to join the syndicate and be part and parcel of that money-getting organization. And so, grudgingly, with long eye, he discussed his intention with Mr. Biggs.
You know, say me come to sort out this banking thing, man. No bother worry about the formalities. Me just need you to make it happen quick. Yes, sir, but Mr. Biggs, I need to discuss another matter with you.
Yes.
Resigned his managerial position at the bank. Then, after several years, he stole over 10 million US dollars of the drugs money and fled, but no one knew where he was now hiding. It seems that Jerry concluded that a servant who has tasted the king's food should be entitled to the throne as well. At Jack's trial, the prosecution failed to investigate fully who were the owner of the weapon used in the shooting. However, private investigators assigned by the family's lead attorney found that monetary gifts were channeled to the prosecution and the government investigators.
Here you go, my friends. This deal secure now, seen?
And that money was paid by Mr. Bigman, the drug kingpin of the Biggs enterprise. However, young Jack decided to take the blame and do the time to safeguard the safety and security of the other members of his family. But now they had mistakenly killed the wrong brother, who was only a farmer and had nothing to do with the illegal drugs trade. But soon they will have hell to pay for their deeds. But that was 15 years ago. But today he was free and had all the revenge plan indelibly printed in his head, mind, and heart. Jack knew his plans were almost in place and his power would be felt in due time, but he did not need to rush. But he will take some time to set his plan fully in motion before starting his shadow war against the Biggs enterprise. In other words, a snake that does not shed its skin will die. So Jack must, as a rule, release his build-up internal skin of hatred and revenge, and weather the eternal and organized drug storm of the gangsters, killers, and drug dealers. Jack was now walking into the bus park, where saw his bus in the designated area. He was on his way to his family home in Devon Pen, several miles from Broadgate, where his long-forgotten primary and high school sweetheart lives. He got on the bus. He paid his fare from the little that he had saved from working in the laundry and at other places at the prison. This bus travels from Kingston to Port Antonio, traveling along the Junction Roadway, with stops in Castleton, Devon Pen, and Broadgate along the route to its final destination in Port Antonio. He took a window seat in the bus to observe the layout of the land and road and reflect on his mother, brothers, and sisters back home. The bus was taking on more and more passengers for the ride into the country. The road through the junction roadway will snake through lush greenery of bamboo, coconut, hibiscus trees, green grass, flowers, and evergreens plants that create a beautiful landscape and relaxation for the travelers. Most school children were now on Christmas holiday break, so there were not many children to delay the bus on its route. He closed his eyes for a minute, and as he opened his eyes again, he saw a beautiful damsel wanting to sit in the seat beside him. A beautiful Coca-Cola bottle, shaped fair-tempered skin, beauty without blemish.
Somebody sit?
No, you can sit, no problem.
He was sure that he had seen her somewhere before, but he reasoned that maybe, just maybe, he had seen someone like her in his dream. When suddenly she stretched out her hand and spoke.
Hi, my name is Dee. You can call me Dee.
Jack was fascinated by her friendly disposition and demeanor, but realizing that she was holding back her full name, he put forth his hand and replied,
Well, just call me Jay. Ray, come in at this, up there.
The bus was moving, so in about 1.5 hours, he should be home at the foot of the Blue Mountains. On reaching the bus stop in Castleton, he woke up to find Dee's head resting on his shoulder while her left hand was resting on his lap. Dee also woke up and said,
Sorry, me, I'm a tired self, I'm a tired man.
It's okay, no worry about it.
Jack was always kind, honest, helpful, caring, and understanding. Prison has its own rules, regulations, and laws that are designed for the incarcerated and those needed to be reformed. But Jack's behavior and attitude were already deeply ingrained in him by his parents, and that had not changed while in prison. Actually, for him, prison life only made him better. Jack's fiduciary mission was not set in stone, but could be changed to entertain new or improve players as well. Jack was aware that humans were created to bond through physical contact, especially through touch. She was just wondering who this tall, stately, and well-mannered hunk of a person was, but sometimes power is not always loud. At times, the quiet man is the sweetest and the most dangerous man to be around. As Jack looked through the bus window again, he saw the silent majesty and beauty of the Blue Mountain, where the John Crows or Turkey's vultures soar to the highest peaks to watch out for dead meat or mating partners in the distance. This large scavenger, red featherless-head bird, is often seen circling overhead in the sky, and there in the distance, the pine trees and other evergreen trees point their fingers to the sky. The vast expanse of the Blue Mountain Range testifies to the lush vegetation and the pure natural atmosphere of Jamaica's pristine environment. Indeed, the tops of the virgin evergreen trees look like an endless carpeted landscape floor, where the mountain kisses the sky. Then he thought further. Even if the drug war becomes a battle or a fight between mice and men, I will still press the fight forward for the elimination of the illegal drugs in my country of Jamaica, because for me, the saving of my Jamaican people is not an option, but rather a civic pride and duty to be performed by one who have spent many years in prison to protect his family from further retaliation by the drug kingpins in the Jamaican society. He had also heard from his friend in prison many stories and tales about the drug business in Jamaica and South America. His friend was a former manager of several dozen distributors and agents, but he was arrested for murder even though he did not pull the trigger but oversaw the elimination of Mr. Biggs's competitors. His prison mate and confidant pointed out that the drug trade in Jamaica is a tightly knitted clan-based society where all the players know each other, but it is only open to those who are approved by the Biggs enterprise and who are the movers and the shakers in the illegal drugs game of making millions of dollars hands over fist, with most of it going back to Mr. Biggs. But Jack's retribution will be like a hornet's nest, loose in their houses with the doors and windows closed. Of course, Jack was obsessed with secrecy and privacy, and trusted no one, friend or family. Well, maybe one, just one of his old prison buddies. This applied violence will show his operational capabilities in due season. Jack's vigilante craft, his statecraft, and his crime craft will be a highlighted, protected secret. Then he quipped, Biggs and his rebels of drug dealers will be caught in a web of their own making, and with no one else to blame for what was coming their way in the not-too-far-distant future. As Jack thought further, He started visualize the tales about the operations of the fast-moving motorboats that carry the drugs from the drug-producing countries of South America and unload them to smaller Jamaican fishing boats on the Caribbean Sea. Sometimes the drugs come over to Jamaica in cargo ships, and sometimes in low-budget, semi-submersible vessels known locally as narco subs. These boats sail largely undetected, with only the top of the craft visible, often painted in sky blue and grays to blend in with the stormy Atlantic Ocean waves to evade surveillance efforts. Those boats had secret bottoms and were then transported to Jamaica and protected by the Jamaican Water and Land Police and escorted to the wharf into containers going to Canada, America, and Europe. These operations are financed and controlled by Mr. Biggs, the drug kingpin of the drug underworld in Kingston, Jamaica. Suddenly, his mind raced through time to his girlfriend, whom he has not seen for several years. The last time he saw her was years ago when he was in prison, and he asked her not to visit him again because of the hurtful feelings it causes him, due to the fact that many people thought that he was guilty of killing his father. He then imagined that she was now married with a happy home and a handful of children. Meanwhile, back at Jack's home, his family was busy cooking and preparing a big lavish party for him of curried goat, stew beef, fish with roast, breadfruit, rice, boiled banana, and yellow yam, to name but a few items on the menus, along with many natural juices. Jack was aware that unguarded conversations are sometimes dangerously dangerous because people get verbally careless when they think that they are among friends. And so, the story was revealed by an inmate in the hearing of Jack's presence through the former easy-speaking form drug mule that Mr. DeFon Biggs has been known to employ skilled underwater welders to weld drugs carrying sections onto cargo ships and cruise ship in many Jamaican ports. So, now, Jack has gotten wind of the ports and the welders involved. Jack already had a foothold into this den of wolves back in the prison that he was just released from, and he knew just the avenue of penetration. So, yes, indeed, he had a friend in prison with the knowledge and the connections of the inner circle of the Biggs organization. And basically, Jack realized that a great crisis is engulfing the people of Jamaica, a momentous struggle between the good and the evil minds of men and women. And so, Jack's hand will be the unseen instrumentality in this righteous fight in the mystery of life. But instantly, there was now a sick, nasty feeling that came flowing into his mind. Freed killers, rapists, large-scale drug dealers, robbers, and gangsters will die, hunted down by Jack. He will find them wherever they are, and they will be murdered. Thus, a momentous struggle between the drug lords, drug dealers, rapists, the population of wrongdoers, and Jack will determine the final analysis of change in the cultural atmosphere in Jamaica. Just then, the bus conductor announced that the Devon Penn stop would be coming up soon. A quarter of a mile before his stop, said his goodbye to his new friend D, got off the bus, bought an orange juice from a roadside vendor, sat on the concrete wall to drink, to his heart's content, until the bus was gone out of sight before headed to his house in the Vale at Devon Penn. Jack was so delighted to see old familiar places again. Meanwhile, Dee stayed on the bus toward her home in Broadgate, about 10 miles away. The area where Jack family lived in the village of Devon Penn was a farming village and animal-rearing enclave with goats, cows, and many other animals and farms of yellow yam and other Higgler's choice of market provisions, with many cool springs running from the Blue Mountain foothills into the Wagwater River. While he walked, his mind was racing on detailed information that he had picked up in prison. He now realized that for the drug dealers, it's all about the money and not about the risk. And right now, these drug dealers consider Jamaica as the gateway to their markets in North America and Europe. The Jamaican authorities must, as a rule, establish a stronger and more robust approach to dealing with their police officers who are engaged in the pay for protection and the drug syndicate modus operandi. Jack would prove to be unnervingly patient. He would also show that revenge was not all about violence and killing, but also about strategies. One can rest assured that Jack's mission would not fold like a deck of cards, but will stand the test of time. With his good planning and strategy, it would be successful. Jack saw Kingston as the start of his chessboard, and Biggs' organization was his checkmate to the cleansing of the drug industry. His mission objectives were staring him in his face, but it had to be done and done right, without fear or favor. The brutal crimes that they have committed will be brought to their remembrance before they are executed, to confirm and assure them that there is still justice in the world, even if it is vigilante-style justice. But wait a coconut-picking minute! That is not all. At their funeral, they will be blown to smithereens, which will be the signature of this vigilante master serial killer. Meanwhile, as he was walking up the narrow path to the house, young Jackie advised the other members of the family that Uncle Jack, the prodigal son, was almost home. Little Jackie, his brother's son, who was born and named after Jack while in prison, he was positioned as the little antagonist in the family. And so, the group of 25 family members and friends gathered in a single room with locked door to give the impression that no one else was home. Jack walked the narrow footpath to his family's house. Suddenly, a small boy came to the door and said,
"Hello, sir. Good afternoon. What can I do for you today?"
"I am looking for the adults who lives in this house."
without revealing who he was to the little rascal of a smart Alex. The boy responded, "Well, sir, whatever your name is, you can come inside and wait for a while until they return, and you can have a seat. And if you so desire, I will pour you a cool glass of lemonade with ice." Jack accepted the offer of the seat and the lemonade, while little Jackie went to get the lemonade from the fridge in the kitchen. Instantaneously, the other members of the family rushed into the room and shouted, "Surprise! Surprise! Welcome home, Jack!" Then the family members started crying while hugging Jack. After a little while, the small boy came back with the glass of lemonade and said, "Sorry, Uncle Jack, I had to make it look real and surprising for you. It was all a part of the welcome home plan." Jack took a hold of his young nephew and gave him a big hug and said to the crowd, "My oh my, a boy after my own heart." He also took the drink, drank, and was refreshed. Then Jack started feeling the love, bond, and enmeshment they had as a family before he went to prison. After making small talk with the welcome home party, the food was served, and Jack sat beside his mother and ate and drank to his heart's content. Then after eating, his mother said, "Jack, you must be tired. Your room is waiting, so get your rest and we will talk again soon." Music was now being played and drinking was in progress. There were many gifts under the Christmas tree, and Jack's name was written on many of the gifts. Jack examined a box that indicated a cell phone. As Jack examined the newfangled cell phone with all its elaborate features, he was sure that that phone would come in handy one day in his operational zone of vigilantism. Then, in a flash, Jack realized that someone was missing from the crowd, and so he asked one of his sisters, "Sis, where is Donna? I noticed that she is not here." His sister replied, "Here's the latest picture of her, but she had gone into Kingston for an interview at a bank, but she will be here tomorrow." Jack was dumbstruck when he saw her picture, because it was the same beautiful, sexy body, dark flowing hair grown-up lady he sat beside on the bus from Kingston to Devon Penn. Instantly, he said to his mother, "Sorry, Mother, I cannot rest now. I must see Donna." One of his brothers volunteered to drive him to see Donna in the village of Broadgate, about 10 miles away. While traveling to Donna's house, Jack's brother informed him that his little Donna was still single and waiting for him after those long years. The two brothers rode in silence until they reached Broadgate. Then his younger brother, Robert, asked, "When we were younger, you used to give me lots of jokes. Did you lose your sense of humor at the big yard?" Jack then responded with, "And do you remember that you used to laugh until you roll on the ground?" Then before the brother could answer, Jack added, "And tell me, did I ever tell you that I was in prison? And do you know why 6 do not like 7? As Robert answered no, Jack interjected, "Because 7, 8, 9, and 10. Finally, they reached their destination at Donna's house, yet Robert was still laughing about 7, 8, 9, and 10. When they got to the house, Donna was in the yard sitting on an outside table grating a dry coconut for rice and peas dinner the following day. And there she sat, Donna, the love of Jack's life, now 28 years young, shining in all her beauty. When Dee saw him alighted from the car, she exclaimed, "Mr. J, what are you doing here?" And when she saw the man who was on the bus with Jack's brother, she realized that it was Jack. Jack was not suffering from conflicting thoughts or feelings. He was still in love with her after all those years, and because Donna also knew that Jack was not guilty of the crime he went to prison for. Donna stood up frozen, with mouth agape, and understood that it was indeed Jack, the love of her life. Was it real or a dream come true that after waiting 15 years, he was back home for good? Then Donna, with her soft, sexy, dainty feminine voice, said, "Jack, oh Jack!" She ran towards him and jumped into his arms with tears streaming down her face. Jack was finally home, she thought. Then a strange calm settled over both of them as Jack pulled her into a tight embrace, both of them trembling. They kissed passionately and cried together, finding comfort in their shared moments of joy. Jack hugged her tightly, gently stroking her hair and whipping her tearful smile while kissing her face.
I've spent my life looking for you, finding my way wasn't easy to do.
My love, my love, my love, said Donna's eyes blazing with love and happiness. They hugged and kissed for a long spell with wet and loving kiss, and she called her mother to come and see who had come to visit them. Donna's mother came to the veranda and said, "Oh, it's you, Jack. Welcome back home, Jack. I heard that you would be home soon. You are finally home?" Instantly, she took her cell phone and called her son Steve in New York City and said, "My son, guess who is here?" And before Steve could inquire who, she added, "Jack is back, and finally back home from prison, thank God." Steve replied, "Tell him to stay out of trouble and I will see him in the summer." So yes, indeed, Jack will be a social and anti-drug ombudsman for the rights of the innocent people of Jamaica, who are at the mercy of the drug-dealing gangsters and the government officials and politicians who facilitates the lawlessness of the drug industry to prosper and flourish without a heavy hand on the drug entrepreneurs' necks to reduce the sordid effect of the consuming John public. Jack will live in the rhythm of the life of a vigilante who sees justice as a profound repayment of evil done by the expositors of evil. Jack would prove to be unnervingly patient. He would also show that revenge was not all about violence and killing, but also about strategies to get to the best end result. But one thing was certain, and it is that the vastness of the drug pot was boiling and needed to be stirred and purified in its track and bring back sanity and normalcy back to the lives of Jamaicans. Jack's evaluation and methodology was in vast contrast to anything used by previous elements of revenge and drug cleansing approaches. In this vast tapestry of vigilante-style justice, it is second to none. So yes, indeed, Jack will change the paradigm shift on the public's image and perception of law and order towards drug dealers, cold-blooded killers, and rapists. Jack will execute cosmic vigilante justice to the drug dealers and drug entrepreneurs, legally or civilly. Finally, this series of masterpiece written imagery style is filled with drama, tension, sex, love, revenge, courtroom legal wranglings, and excitement. It will also reveal the awesome ability of drug lords, seasoned killers, and the power of the evil minds of men to spread fear and dread throughout the society. And obviously, they will use any means necessary to achieve their goals. Jack will live in the rhythm of the life of a vigilante killer who sees justice as a profound repayment of evil done by the expositor of evil. Consequently, the drug dealers show a hard and callous indifference to law and order and the rights of citizens to live in peace and harmony. Now, this is the first part of the story of Jack Collinwood's life after he left prison. However, if you like great stories like these, please like and share. And tell us where you are watching from, and leave us a comment so that we can produce more of these stories for you.